The price of heritage, the twins of silence. He closed the door on her without a word, a single act of corporate obedience that cost him 5 years and 2 sons. 5 years ago, Adam Rivers was the golden heir, the perfect CEO who valued his family's multi-billion-dollar empire above all else. He was ruthless, untouchable, and utterly convinced that sacrificing Chloe Vance, the only woman who made him feel human, was a necessity. He thought the price was just a broken heart. He was wrong. The debt came due at a technology summit in London, when Adam looked up from signing a multi-million-pound deal and came face to face with 2 small boys, twin sons, Daniel and Liam, who shared his glacial blue eyes and his exact, unmistakable blonde hair. The reality hit him like a physical blow. The man he had been was a coward. The life he had built was a lie. This is the story of a man's agonizing journey to win back the family he abandoned, only to find himself in a far greater war, a desperate battle against his own father, Mr. Charles Rivers, who now seeks to destroy Adam's fragile new life. Mr. Charles will stop at nothing, even using the very names of his grandsons, L and D, to turn their innocence into the global, cold-hearted slogan of his corporate empire. Can true commitment, built on the humble foundations of a family garden, truly defeat the ambition and control of a global tech titan? Prepare for an emotional and financial showdown where the only thing at stake is the right to define a legacy. I, the Golden Mask and the CEO's Void. London in autumn is a city of sharp angles and blinding lights for the elite, and no one personified that forced perfection better than Adam Rivers. At 32, he was already the CEO of Rivers Tech Global, a multi-billion-dollar technology empire built on artificial intelligence and cloud innovation. His face graced the covers of Forbes UK. His keynote speeches at global summits were considered landmark events, and his handshake was synonymous with billions. Every photograph circulated of Adam was a study in pristine image. Perfectly combed ash-blonde hair, glacial blue eyes that distilled just the right amount of calculated distance, and that precise smile that could close a deal before the first paragraph of the contract was read. He lived in a penthouse overlooking Hyde Park, drove a custom electric sports car, and wore bespoke suits worth an annual salary. To the world, he was perfection personified, disciplined, unstoppable, and destined for greatness. But there was one thing Adam didn't have, and for which he had once nearly risked everything: love. 5 years prior, before ascending to his full CEO role, Adam had been with someone who didn't fit the strict script his family had written for him. Her name was Chloe Vance. She wasn't a socialite or an investor. Chloe was a scholarship postgraduate student, studying architecture and working odd jobs. She wore paint on her jeans, and her notebooks were filled with chaotic sketches that, to Adam, were more beautiful than any executive blueprint. Chloe had long, rebellious brown hair, deep, expressive blue eyes, and a way of looking at Adam that made him feel more than a title. It made him feel human. With her, he didn't have to perform. He laughed louder, slept better, and dreamed of a freedom his gilded life denied him. Their relationship blossomed in intimacy. Night walks through the West End, shared takeout on rooftops overlooking London's skylines, and long conversations about fears and utopias. She didn't care about his money. She mocked his overly expensive watch and adamantly refused to let him pay her rent. She made him feel real in a world where everything about him felt curated. For the first time, Adam imagined a future that didn't revolve around quarterly reports, but around laughter in a tiny kitchen and children with blue eyes and indomitable energy. But his parents, Mr. Charles Rivers, chairman of the board, and his mother, Mrs. Eleanor Rivers, the matriarch of London high society, had other plans. The reaction upon discovering Chloe was immediate and brutal. Mr. Charles summoned him to his mahogany office and laid it out plainly. She is not your equal. She dilutes your image. Marry her, and we will begin the process of removing you from succession. Mrs. Eleanor didn't even bother to hide her disdain. Do you really want to shame the family? What will the shareholders think seeing you with someone so ordinary? Adam fought back. He resisted. He said he didn't care about perception. But Rivers Tech was a brand. His name was an investment. The pressure intensified from family to advisors, reminding him of historical obligations. The worst part, Adam never told Chloe the truth. One day, he simply ended it. No explanation, no discussion. He told her he needed to focus on his career and walked out of her small apartment in Shoreditch, leaving behind the woman with whom he'd imagined a forever. He buried himself in work, trying to convince himself it was necessary, that it was for the greater good. But not a day passed without him missing her laugh, the way she pronounced his name when she was angry, and the way she made him feel like a man, not a product. 2. The hidden truth in 2 heartbeats. Chloe's sacrifice. Chloe Vance had never believed in fairy tales, but falling in love with Adam Rivers had felt dangerously close to one. She believed his unfinished promises and his desire to escape the world of cameras. But one day, he vanished. No goodbye, just a cold, carefully worded message that he needed space to focus on his future. She waited. She called. She left a long, desperate voicemail. But the silence that followed wasn't empty. It was deliberate. It was definitive. And then she stopped waiting. Chloe threw herself into her work, trying to drown the anguish in blueprints and models. But only a few weeks later, she started noticing the changes in her body. The fatigue, the nausea, the missed period. She told herself it was stress. But when she took the pregnancy test and saw the result, positive, she caught her breath. The doctor confirmed the pregnancy, but the ultrasound revealed something unexpected. 2 heartbeats. Twins. 2 lives growing inside her. 2 vivid reminders of a man who had walked away without looking back. She considered calling him again, but she remembered the cold rejection from his assistant and the way he had vanished as if she meant nothing. She decided she couldn't go through that again. Chloe made the decision to leave London. She accepted a job in a smaller city, in a drafting office where no one asked about her past. She rented a modest flat and lived cautiously, saving every penny. The twin pregnancy was exhausting, but she was tougher. She worked despite swollen feet and sleepless nights, consuming prenatal vitamins with food stamps and skipping meals to pay for baby clothes. And when the time came, she gave birth to 2 healthy, beautiful boys, Daniel and Liam. They had blonde hair from the start and the bluest eyes she had ever seen. It was like looking at 2 tiny versions of the man she had loved. At first, it broke her heart to see him in their faces. But over time, that feeling softened into something stronger. Fierce love. Her sons were her everything. Loud, messy, and perfect. She fed them, dressed them, kissed their scrapes, and read them stories even when she could barely stand. Chloe never mentioned Adam's name. When the boys asked about a father, she told them the truth, gently, that sometimes people leave because they are afraid of love, and that is not our fault. 3. Destiny calls at the summit. The return to London. Do you think destiny always finds a way to close the circles that fear opens? Or do you think Chloe should have tried to contact Adam one last time upon learning of the pregnancy? Share your opinion in the comments. If Chloe's courage inspires you, show it with a like and share this drama. The invitation arrived unexpectedly, buried in Chloe's freelance email inbox. Architectural Futures Forum. Speaker selection. She thought it was a mistake. She had never presented at an event of this caliber, much less in London. But the message was real. They had reviewed her design proposal for a women's shelter, sustainable, low cost, and community-focused, and wanted her to speak on the panel. It was the opportunity she had dreamed of for years. Returning to London 5 years later was surreal. Everything looked the same, but nothing felt familiar. She arrived with Daniel and Liam, 2 energetic 5-year-olds who asked non-stop questions on the flight and stared in awe at the city skyline. She dressed them neatly for the forum, in small collared shirts and clean sneakers, with a backpack full of coloring books and snacks to keep them occupied. The event was held in a downtown glass skyscraper, with sunlight flooding the room. Chloe tried not to think about the possibility of running into anyone. London is huge. He won't be here. Why would he be? But then she heard his voice. She was mid-sentence, answering a reporter's question, when the deep, all too familiar voice resonated through the air. Chloe froze. Her stomach lurched before her eyes confirmed it. Adam Rivers was less than 20 feet away, laughing softly with a group of impeccably suited sponsors. He hadn't changed. Immaculate blonde hair, effortless posture, but harder, with more of a sharp edge. His expression was one of calm, until his gaze landed on her. Chloe saw the exact moment reality hit him. First confusion, then shock, then something deeper. His eyes flickered from Chloe to the 2 boys sitting on the floor behind her table, coloring quietly on the carpet. Time slowed down. Adam's face went pale, almost gray. His gaze fixed on the twins, and Chloe could see the gears turning in his mind. Fast, desperate. He walked toward her. She stiffened, clutching the edge of the display table as if it could anchor her to the earth. He stopped in front of her, his voice barely audible. "Chloe." She didn't answer. He looked at the boys, then back at her, visibly trembling. "Are they?" She held his gaze. "Yes," she said calmly and quietly. "They're yours." Adam stumbled back, stunned. He looked like a man who had just been punched. "I didn't know," he said. "I had no idea." "I know," she replied, her voice firm. "I tried. You made sure I couldn't reach you. But why didn't you try again?" Chloe allowed herself a soft, bitter, tired laugh. "I did. I left messages. I sent letters. Your assistant told me not to call again. I assumed you had made your choice." Adam looked down, the weight of the truth and the shame settling heavily on his face. He looked at the boys again. Daniel looked up, smiled, and waved innocently. "I need to talk to you," Adam said, his voice cracking slightly. Chloe crossed her arms. "Now you want to talk, after 5 years, at a public event." He nodded slowly. "Yes, I need to explain, and I need to understand." She stared at him. The pain she had buried deep surfaced, but she didn't let it out. "You don't get to walk back into this like nothing happened," she said. "But if you truly want to understand, start by learning their names." Adam turned to the boys, knelt down and asked gently, "What are your names?" "I'm Daniel," said one. "I'm Liam," the other added. "What's your name?" "I'm Adam," he replied with a sad smile. They didn't recognize him. Why would they? Chloe watched, her heart pounding wildly. The truth was out, and nothing would ever be the same. 4. The weight of consistency, rebuilding brick by brick. Adam didn't sleep that night. The image of Daniel and Liam, their names, their tiny blue eyes, haunted him in his penthouse, now a place empty of meaning. The next morning, he secretly requested a DNA test. It wasn't for legality. It was because he needed permission to believe the truth he already knew. 3 days later, the result: 99.9% match. There was no denying it. He was their father. Adam looked at the document as if it were something sacred and heavy, the key to a door he himself had locked. Chloe agreed to meet him at a small cafe. No lawyers, no assistants. They sat face to face, Two people separated by years of pain, yet eternally linked by two boys. "I have the results," Adam finally said. "They're mine." Chloe nodded. "I know. I don't know what to say." "Then don't say anything you don't mean," she replied, her eyes clear. "I mean everything now, Chloe. I swear. I wanted to fight, but my parents, the board, everything collapsed. I didn't know how to be the man they expected, and the man you needed. You chose them," Chloe said, without malice. "You left, and I had to raise them without you. While you built empires, I built cribs." Adam winced. Her words weren't cruel. They were simply true. "I'm not asking for forgiveness yet," he said, humbled. "I just want a chance to know them, to be part of their lives. I can't go back, but I can show up now. I can try." Chloe studied him cautiously. "They're 5 years old. They don't understand betrayal, only presence. You can't just walk in and out. If you want to be in their lives, it has to be completely." "I'm in," he said without hesitation. "Whatever the cost," she conceded. "You'll start small. Pick them up from school one day. Come to the park. If they ask, answer honestly. But if they run, don't chase them. Just be there." The visits began consistently. Adam showed up at the school, at the park, in clumsy casual clothes, but with an iron commitment. No suits, just ice cream stains on his jeans. One day at the park, Liam fell off the slide. Adam ran over, knelt down, and gently checked his arm. "You're okay," he said tenderly. Liam blinked. "You sound like Mom." Adam smiled. "I'm trying to be good at this." That small gesture almost broke him. Daniel, who was observing with that calculating gaze Adam knew from himself, finally approached. "Are you coming back?" Adam looked him in the eyes. Firm. "Yes, I will come back. Again and again and again." V. The title that money can't buy. The emotional summit. It's been 3 months of total consistency. What do you think has been harder for Adam? Walking away from his CEO life, or keeping his promise to show up for every moment, no matter how small? Leave us your opinion, and don't forget to subscribe. One Saturday afternoon, Chloe dropped the boys off at Adam's penthouse. He had redecorated his luxurious space for them. Toys in wicker baskets, a small drawing table, and a refrigerator stocked with juices he detested, but they loved. They built a pillow fort between the sofas. Daniel was the captain. Liam, the science officer. Adam played as Commander Daddy, a name Liam invented mid-game and said without thinking. Adam froze for a second. "Daddy." He didn't respond immediately, fearing that if he reacted too much, the boy would retract it. But inside, the word resonated like an anthem he never knew he needed. Later, while they watched cartoons, Liam snuggled up next to him and looked at him. "Can I call you Daddy now? Or do I have to wait?" Adam felt a lump in his throat. He looked at Liam, then at Daniel, who watched him silently. "You can call me whatever feels right," he said hoarsely. "But if you want to call me Daddy, I would be very proud." That night, Chloe arrived to pick them up and found them asleep on the sofa. Adam curled protectively with them, the TV softly humming. She stood watching them. The wall she had built was crumbling. Waking Adam, he helped carry them to the car. "Liam called me Daddy today," he said quietly. Chloe looked at him. "He wouldn't have asked you if he didn't truly mean it." Adam didn't sleep again that night. He stayed awake, feeling complete for the first time in years. Not because of success or wealth, but because 2 small boys had chosen to let him in. Not as a guest, but as their father. 6. The final confrontation and the new success. The price of humanity. Adam knew he had to face his parents. The confrontation was no longer for closure. It was for clarity. He arrived at the Rivers estate one Sunday morning. Mr. Charles received him in the library, with his mother appearing moments later, immaculate and cold. "I'm surprised you came," his father said. Adam stood by the fireplace, unyielding. "We need to talk about Chloe and the boys." His mother tensed. "We warned you about her years ago. You didn't warn me. You lied to me." Adam's voice was controlled, but sharp. "You blocked letters. You ignored calls. You had her kept away. You chose the wrong woman." "We did what was necessary to protect your future," Mr. Charles countered. "You chose the girl who had nothing. That girl is the mother of my children. The children you didn't even bother to know existed. She raised them alone, and they turned out to be better people than everything this family has produced." His father adopted a strategic tone. "And now what? Are you going to play house and pretend to be a family man?" Adam looked at him with disgust. "I don't care what the world buys. I care what Daniel and Liam see when they look at me. I care what kind of man I am when I tuck them in at night." "I'm not here to ask for your blessing," Adam declared, looking at both of them. "Your control ends here. If you cannot accept my family, you will not be a part of our lives. That is your choice. But I am done living under your version of success." A heavy silence fell. Adam saw a visible crack in the facade of power they had always wielded. "I pity you," he added quietly. "You will never know them. You will never hear Liam explain why he thinks the moon controls feelings, or see how Daniel draws his dreams. You will lose everything. And one day, you'll realize you traded your grandchildren for control." He turned and walked out. 7. The rooted home. Almost a year after the reunion, Adam's life wasn't perfect, but it was full. His mornings began with spilled cereal, mismatched socks, and the chaos of getting 2 boys out the door. His penthouse, once so sterile, had been transformed into a lived-in home, with crayon drawings taped to the fridge. One Saturday morning, as the boys played and Chloe made coffee, Adam walked up to her. There was no velvet case. There was a simple, clean box, carefully chosen with a delicate but strong ring. "I don't want to rewrite the past," Adam said, kneeling before her, in front of the boys. "I just want to write the rest of the story with you in it, as your partner, as the father of our sons, as the man who finally understands what it means to love completely and to show up entirely." Chloe's eyes shone, and she smiled. "Yes," she said simply. "I don't need perfection. I just need you." They married a few months later, not in a hotel ballroom, but in the small community garden Chloe had helped design years ago. Daniel and Liam wore matching vests and carried the rings, too excited to walk slowly. The vows were short, honest, and unpolished. Promises to choose each other, not just on sunny days, but also on the difficult ones. When they kissed, the kiss didn't mark a beginning. It sealed something that was already built. Slowly, painfully, and beautifully. As the sun set, and the boys ran among the ivy, Adam stood, his hand intertwined with Chloe's, feeling a peace he had never known in his former life. He had believed that success was power and control. But there, barefoot in a garden, with his wife and sons chasing butterflies, he finally understood. He was home. Completely. Finally. And this time he wasn't going anywhere. What an ending. Adam Rivers' redemption is proof that consistency and humility are worth more than all the empires. What part of the story did you find most touching? The confrontation with his parents, or the moment Liam called him Daddy? Tell us in the comments, and if you enjoyed this epic, don't forget to share it. B. The calm before the tech storm. The silence before the storm. The first year of marriage was the true honeymoon, not of exotic trips, but of shared routine and a profound peace. Adam Rivers never thought possible. His penthouse, once a cold luxury display, was now an ecosystem of life. The smell of coffee and toast in the morning, crayon drawings taped to the fridge with magnets, and, most importantly, the constant sound of Daniel and Liam's laughter. Adam had discreetly sold his majority stake in Rivers Tech, a move Mr. Charles considered an unprecedented betrayal, and invested in Chloe's small firm, rebranded as Vance Rivers Sustainable Architecture. He used his business acumen to secure contracts, while Chloe led the design vision, focused on creating human-centered and ecological spaces. For the first time, work felt like purpose, not obligation. The twins, now 6, were their gravitational center. They had accepted Adam as their father without reservation, though with the brutal frankness of childhood. "Daddy Adam, why did you only like glass before, and now you like dirt?" Daniel asked one day, while they played with potted plants. Adam didn't have to lie. "Because I realized that real life grows in the dirt, not in the glass, son." Chloe, for her part, had allowed herself to relax. She still maintained an instinctive wariness, a shadow of the woman who survived alone, but Adam's consistency was a daily cure. Her hands, once tense from constant worry, now reached for his, an unconscious gesture of trust that was worth more than all the "I love yous" in the world. The silent challenge. The only disturbance in this bubble of happiness were the quiet messages coming from the Rivers tech empire. They weren't direct threats, but moves on the chessboard. Mr. Charles was using his vast influence to block construction licenses in London, pressure banks to deny loans to the new firm, and sow doubt in the specialized press about Adam's ability to handle serious projects after his emotional defeat. They were subtle attacks, designed not to destroy, but to slowly asphyxiate their new company. Adam and Chloe handled it together, often staying up late, analyzing contracts and looking for alternative legal strategies. One day, Chloe asked him, "Do you think your father will ever stop?" Adam squeezed her hand, his expression hard. "My father doesn't understand limits, Chloe, only control. But we built something in real life. He only has paper and shares, and real life always wins." Ike's, the siren song of Silicon Valley. But can real life truly win against the will of a billionaire with a wounded ego? What would you do if your success was under constant threat from the ghost of your past? Leave us your strategy in the comments. And like if you think Adam should fight back. Mr. Charles's response was not a threat, but a temptation. A month after a major mortgage loan was denied due to sudden risks, a clear manipulation by Mr. Charles, Adam received a call. Not from his father, but from Ethan Ward, the CEO of one of Silicon Valley's most successful AI startups and a former Rivers Tech competitor. The conversation was brief and to the point. Ethan was developing a project for sustainable smart cities, a dream that exactly matched Chloe's vision, and needed a partner with Adam's business vision, but without Rivers Tech's cold ethics. The offer. The proposal was astronomical. The directorship of the Smart Urban Development Division, stock compensation that doubled his lost wealth, and, most tempting, total freedom to build their vision on a new coast, far from the suffocating reach of Mr. Charles in London. Adam fell silent. Silicon Valley. He could be free forever from his father's shadow. He could guarantee Chloe and the boys unmatched financial security, freeing her from constant economic worry. That night, he presented the offer to Chloe. "It's a chance to build our vision on a global scale, Chloe," he said, his voice filled with an excitement he hadn't felt since his Rivers Tech days. "And most importantly, it's total liberation from my father. He has zero influence in San Francisco." Chloe listened intently, studying the proposal blueprint. There was a glimmer of architectural interest in her eyes, but also a shadow of unease on her mother's face. "It's tempting," she admitted, tracing a line on the blueprint with her finger. "But it's the same game, Adam. Again the scale, again the corporate success. And," she looked up, her eyes fixing on him with painful clarity, "it's the same promise of success that forced you to leave me 5 years ago? What if Silicon Valley has its own Mr. Charles? The question sent a chill down Adam's spine. He had changed, but the corporate world remained the same. Was he running from his father instead of confronting him? The family decision. Adam spent the next 2 weeks consumed by doubt. On one hand, security and global freedom. On the other, the authenticity and home they had fought so hard to build in London. The decision in the end was not Adam's or Chloe's, but Daniel and Liam's. One Sunday afternoon, while walking in Hyde Park, the same park Adam used to overlook from his old penthouse, and now walked in as a free man, Adam explained the proposal simply. Daddy has a chance to go to a place called America, where we can build very modern, self-healing houses with lots of light, and where we'll earn lots of money. But we'd have to move from our little house. Liam, the more sensitive one, clung to Chloe's hand. What about the Flower grandparents? The elderly couple Chloe helped in the community garden where they married. Who will water their geraniums? Daniel, the more logical one, looked at his father. If we earn lots of money, will you have to go back to working all day in the glass building and only talking about numbers? Daniel's question was the sword of Damocles. The boy didn't fear the move or the unknown. He feared the return of the absent man his father had been. Chloe held his gaze, letting her son's question resonate. Adam knelt, feeling the weight of his answer. No, my love, I won't go back to the glass building, but I would have to work more than I do here, and maybe I'd be more tired. Daniel shrugged, a mature sadness in his blue eyes. Then it's not worth it. Our house here doesn't heal itself, but you heal us with stories, and that's priceless. Liam nodded fervently, hugging Adam's leg. Stay here, Daddy. Big houses are boring. The twins' answer was a moral command. They chose the value of presence over the value of heritage. Adam stood up, feeling firmer than ever. That night, he called Ethan Ward and respectfully declined the offer, explaining that his priority now was the architecture of his family, not that of smart cities. 11. The final act. A garden versus an empire. Reflection time. The twins chose love over money. But do you think Emperor Charles will accept this defeat? Do you think Adam did right by following his son's advice on a business matter? Leave it in your comment. Don't forget to subscribe and share this family's courage. Adam didn't leave. He stayed in London, and that was the true counterattack against his father. He proved he wouldn't run from his city or his destiny. Seeing that his financial suffocation strategy wasn't working, Mr. Charles Rivers was forced to make a public and humiliating move for Adam, launching a public bid to forcibly acquire the Community Garden of Hope, the very garden where Adam and Chloe had married, and which was the heart of Chloe's latest major project. Mr. Charles's plan: replace it with a Rivers Tech Convention Center, a cold symbol of his power. The news was a bomb in the London press. Mr. Charles wanted to destroy his son's sanctuary. The family didn't crumble. They united. Chloe, with renewed ferocity, organized the neighbors and affected small businesses. Adam, using his old contacts, leaked details to the press about Rivers Tech's corporate bullying tactics and the project's lack of ethics. The final battle was not fought in a boardroom, but in the heart of the city. The last speech. At the final public hearing at City Hall, Adam Rivers presented himself, not as the CEO, but as an ordinary neighbor. He gave a simple speech, devoid of technical terms, that held the audience's breath. My name is Adam Rivers. I grew up with a last name that means power. I believed that success was building taller and earning more money. That's why, years ago, I left the woman I loved. He paused, looking at Chloe, who held Daniel and Liam's hands. My father wants to replace this garden, where I found my real life, with a glass building. He wants to build over the ground we healed, but this is not about who has more money. It's about what deserves to grow. He pointed to his sons, who looked at him with proud eyes. My true success is not Rivers Tech. It is them. And I taught them that the value of a life is not measured by its height, but by the depth of its roots. He looked at the audience. Today, we choose the roots. We choose the garden. We choose what is real. The result. The audience erupted in applause. The social pressure and Chloe Vance's impeccable legal defense forced Mr. Charles to withdraw the bid. The garden was saved. It was a symbolic victory, the garden defeating the empire. Mr. Charles Rivers, for the first time in his life, lost a battle. And that loss didn't cost him money, but the last vestige of control over his son, the chosen legacy. The Vance Rivers sustainable architecture firm flourished. They never built a skyscraper, but they built something better. Communities. And so, Adam Rivers, the man who once fled love for an empire, found that his true power was not in the tallest building, but in the firmness of his roots and the noisy hugs of two children who would never let him doubt his worth. Chapter 12. The silent return of the shadow. The triumph in the community garden of Hope case felt like an act of liberation for Adam. The corporate world and the press saw Mr. Charles Rivers' defeat as a public humiliation that, curiously, elevated Adam's reputation not as a magnate, but as a social hero. The Vance Rivers sustainable architecture firm flourished, flooded with projects seeking not just designs, but an ethical purpose. Family life achieved a vibrant harmony. Evenings ended with the four of them snuggled on the sofa reading. Daniel and Liam, now in a school with more trees than concrete, grew up with the unwavering security of a present father. However, Adam knew his father. Mr. Charles didn't retreat. He retrenched. For 6 months, there was a total silence from the Rivers patriarch. No calls, no banking pressure, no press articles. It was an unnatural calm, the stillness of the jungle before the predator strikes. The broken peace dinner. The first sign that the war wasn't over came in the form of a formal invitation. A peace and reconciliation dinner at the family mansion. Chloe advised caution, but Adam felt it was time to look his father in the eyes as an equal. Adam attended alone. The dinner was impeccable, cold, and brief. Mr. Charles didn't apologize. He merely acknowledged Adam's resilience, a compliment that sounded more like a strategic analysis than affection. You have grit, Adam. I'll grant you that, Mr. Charles said, sipping his single malt. But you didn't use your talent to its maximum expression. You built a garden when you could have built a city. A pity. Adam smiled. I built what is real, Father. You only build what is profitable. The patriarch stood up. We shall see, son. We shall see. There are many ways to build a legacy. The next day, the calm broke. Not with a lawsuit or banking pressure, but with a massive, global corporate event that dominated the headlines. Rivers Tech Global had secretly acquired Ethan Ward's tech holding in Silicon Valley. The CEO who had offered Adam freedom was quietly absorbed. Ethan's dream of sustainable smart cities was now in Mr. Charles's hands. But what truly chilled Adam's blood was the advertising campaign that immediately followed. The new project, a digital urban utopia promising to change the lives of millions, was named Project L&D The Legacy. The initials L and D were the same as his sons, Liam and Daniel. The message was clear and chilling. Mr. Charles had not only taken his son's project, but had baptized it with his grandson's names, reclaiming the vision and heritage Adam had denied him. It was a perfect psychological war, using the children's innocence as the new facade of the empire. Adam returned home, pale. Chloe, seeing the news on her tablet, understood immediately. It's not about the money, Chloe, Adam said, his voice barely a whisper. It's about the boys. He's using their future, their name, to build his latest, greatest lie. Chloe took his hand, with a firmness that surprised Adam. She was no longer the frightened woman of the past. Then we will show him that the true L&D legacy is built in a garden, not on a server. He has a name. We have real life. Adam looked at her. The game had changed. It was no longer about money or buildings, but about protecting his son's identity and future from a grandfather who wanted to turn them into a brand slogan. Open ending. The question of legacy. That night, as Daniel and Liam slept, oblivious to the epic battle being waged over their names, Adam sat by the window with Chloe. "What do we do, Chloe? This is a game I can't win in London. If he uses their name, he'll do it all over the world." Chloe looked out at the city lights, thinking of their small garden and the monstrous shadow of Project L&D. "There's only one way to protect their legacy, and that is to build ours first, Adam. We'll have to take the rooted life to a place Mr. Charles never thought we'd go. A place where our project can eclipse his, not in height, but in human value." She turned to look at him, her eyes burning with a mix of fear and resolution. "The problem is, where do we go? And most importantly, are we ready for Daniel and Liam to face the truth that their grandfather is the villain of this story? The question hangs in the air. Cole. Final chapter. The unwritten page of the L&D legacy. The photograph of the Project L&D The Legacy campaign lay on the kitchen table, cold and sharp, a stark contrast to the warmth of the home-cooked dinner Chloe had prepared. The initials of their sons, Liam and Daniel, were used as a corporate weapon, turning innocence into a slogan for Rivers Tech Global. Adam was silent, his jaw clenched. He wasn't just angry. He felt a terrifying echo of his past, realizing his father would stop at nothing. "He wants to own their names," Adam finally whispered, his voice raw. "He wants to take the very thing I fought for, the reality of their lives, and turn it into a lie on a global scale. I can't let them grow up seeing their names plastered on a skyscraper that represents everything I ran from." Chloe walked over and placed her hands firmly on his shoulders, grounding him. "Then we fight fire with roots, Adam. We're not fighting a project, we're fighting a definition. His L&D is legacy and domination. Ours has to be love and development." They spent the night in intense discussion. Maps of the world spread across the floor, their hands tracing continents. Fighting Mr. Charles legally in London was a slow, toxic path that would consume their focus and emotional energy, dragging the children through endless media scrutiny. The boys deserved better. The answer, they realized, was to build a greater truth, the great choice, rooted in the world. A week later, Adam called a press conference, but not in London. He was in San Francisco, standing outside the former Ethan Ward headquarters, now a Rivers Tech property. He didn't speak about his father's actions, the lawsuit, or the betrayal. He spoke about choice. "My wife and I believe that true technology should serve humanity, not profit," Adam announced, looking directly into the camera. "We will not compete with Project L&D, but we will redefine what legacy means." He then revealed the Vance Rivers Foundation, dedicated to global sustainable development, and announced their first major commitment, taking their rooted life architectural vision to Latin America, starting with a large-scale, ethical housing project in Colombia. "We are leaving London," he stated simply. "We are choosing to build a legacy for our sons, Liam and Daniel, where their names stand for human impact, not corporate control. My father chose to build a monument to his ego. We choose to build a future for those who need it most." The world reacted with stunned admiration. Adam Rivers, the man who walked away from billions, was now using his knowledge to fight his father's empire with goodness. The open ending. A new horizon. A month later, the family stood at the airport. Daniel and Liam, initially sad to leave their garden, were buzzing with the excitement of building a house that heals itself, in a new country. Mr. Charles made no move to stop them. The silence from him was the heaviest threat of all. He had lost control, but he had not admitted defeat. He now controlled the L&D Legacy global, multi-billion-dollar project, while Adam was headed to a place of uncertainty and noble struggle. As they passed through the gate, Chloe turned to Adam, a mixture of fear and fierce pride in her eyes. "We just gave up everything familiar, Adam," she whispered. Adam smiled, leaning down to kiss her. "No, we didn't give up anything. We chose the only thing that truly matters, our freedom to define our own success." He took the hands of his sons. Liam looked up at him, his blue eyes earnest. "Will we still read stories, Daddy?" "Every single night," Adam promised. As the family walked toward their new life, their path was uncertain, shadowed by the looming threat of the Rivers tech empire that now shared their sons' initials. They were starting over, not from zero, but from a foundation of love and unbreakable commitment. The question remained: could the true L&D legacy, love and development, built on human connection, truly defeat the corporate machine of Mr. Charles Rivers on the global stage? Their battle was just beginning,